Hi everyone, our client is Give Kids the World and we are StarGazer. Something about our client, it's a non-profit resort in Central Florida that provides cost-free vacations to kids with life-threatening illnesses and their families. About us, we are partnered with them to create a new experience for the existing pillow tree by changing the character, story, and the interaction. The team, I am Pradnesh, I'm the programmer and the designer.
I'm Jason, a designer and in charge of show technology.
I'm Casey, I'm the producer and the writer.
I'm Shelly, I'm an artist, and our instructors are Brenda and Ricardo. So we work on the previous ETC project Sweet Dreams, which was built 10 years ago. It allows sweet children and their families to have pillow infused with good memories and love. It is a 2D animation with interactions. So why do we want to update the old pillow tree experience? There are some issues with it. First of all, the time span is too long for children. It's around 3 minutes. It breaks a lot, and the interactions no longer work for the old pillow tree experience. And because of that, the volunteers have to do improvisational acting, which is a burden to them. The last thing is that the current character, Hermes, is a sleepy owl, and we want to add more energy to the experience for the children. As for the progress we've done since halves, we have the final animation built. We finalized the background for our animation. We did a lot of iterations to it to find the best to fit our animation. And we also had the subtitles in 4 languages. There are German, Spanish, French, and English. We also do the volunteer training form to help the volunteers to run the experience in the village. We literally document everything. And most important of all, we stole it in the village and we hand it off to our client. We've got some feedback from our client in the next video. Let's take a look.
It's been an absolute pleasure working with you guys. I feel like this has been the best communication we've ever had, having our weekly Skype meetings and being in part of the process and not just an afterthought. You really involved us and wanted to know what it is we wanted the families to appreciate, and it's been a really great process to share with you guys for sure. The old pillow tree is awesome as well, no offense to the other two guys today. However, with our occupancy growing over the years, we're now at 168 villas. The long time that it took to go through Hermes, the old pillow tree experience, really wasn't working out. There's a lot of families just waiting to do their pillows. So making it a little shorter gets us a lot more of our guests through in a timely fashion. It definitely has elements now that are relatable to the village. I know everybody at ETC was concerned about a white squirrel. However, we do have tons of them running around here at the village. White ones, black ones, gray ones. So it's really meaningful because our families, the first time they see that white squirrel, freak out, get out their cameras, take pictures. So now we'll get to see the white squirrel in the castle as well. I love how you gave us the opportunity to not name the squirrel buttons because of the lovely color we have right here in front of our pillow tree. But we're super excited. The lighting, all the elements, it's a great show. The kids have already shown and proven to enjoy it very much, so we're super happy.
Now Casey will talk more about the installation.
So installation was a big part of our project. And so the question that we've been getting is, how did installation go? It went great. So instead of a loud door knocker, there's now a doorbell. Instead of Hermes, a sleepy owl, there's now Buttons, the upbeat, energetic squirrel. We've done some physical refurbishments to the tree, which originally we didn't plan for, but they had the burlap and the glue there, so we decided to go ahead and do it. And then we added some small buttons on the side that were already there, but we had them do some random interactions, like do random light shows for the kids, so that is not disturbing to those around in the castle, but is still something fun. So for day one, we decided to install when the castle was already closed at 9 p.m. We did this because we wanted to make sure that all the families got the opportunity to do the pillow tree during the day, and that there was never a time when the pillow tree was completely out of commission. So we installed the new computer, and we also cleaned behind the pillow tree, which hadn't been cleaned in about 10 years, and we also modified the build. So for day two, we replaced the buttons on the side, and we got the fidgets connected and working. This did require us to actually physically modify the actual tree a little bit by drilling holes into it and cutting off onto the side a little bit. But with the help from those that Give Kids the World Village, we were able to accomplish it. We play tested with volunteers and families, which was something that was amazing for us to do, is because we were able to see children and families interact with this. And we'd love to share some more stories later on if asked. We also installed some new lights, which we can talk about a little bit later on. And finally, we painted and modified the trees so that, again, it looks a little bit nicer rather than having the holes on the side. And we finalized the build so that it no longer requires a volunteer to actually run it. So for day 3, it really was just creating our backups on our computers. We handed off everything to the client and made sure the volunteers were trained and understood what to do. We play tested one last time, and then we said goodbye to Buttons. And so now we'd like to show you a video of our final product.
Hi, I'm Buttons. You must be here for your pillow. In order to make a pillow, you're going to have to do these things so that the pillow is made just for you. Now let's get started. Alright, let's see. Something fun. Oh, I know what's fun. Dance party. Come on, dance with me. To the left. To the right. Spin around. Oh, wow, that was fun. You're a great dancer. You get the Buttons stamp of approval. All right. What's next? It says happy. Okay. Well, I always think of acorns to make me happy. What else do you think makes me happy? Press the glowing heart button and think of something that will make me smile.
So you'll notice in some parts that we have these kind of long pauses. That's because we wanted to make sure that this can run automatically and doesn't require a volunteer necessarily the whole time.
Yeah, that totally made me happy. Buttons approved. All right. What's next? Oh, love. All right. How about you hug someone you love a whole lot?
Every single child that did this interaction came out with a smile on their face after this, which really warmed our hearts a lot. And again, we'd like to share more stories with you if asked.
Oh, that definitely gets a Button stamp. Wow, it looks like you completed the whole list. You're ready to get the pillow made just for you. But just to be sure, you're going to have to find it. I'm hidden it, but I'll give you a hint. It's close. Ooh, like check everywhere. It could be anywhere, like even behind your ear.
So you also notice at this part, we took out the part where Buttons asked to check the wishing well around the castle. We mostly did this because we wanted to make sure the children stayed focused on Buttons.
Have you checked the tree stump? I love to store special things in the tree stump.
So at this time, the volunteers would kind of direct them around the pillow tree, and then they would find the pillow inside the tree stump right next to the tree. And they were all very excited to get their pillows.
You did it! You're fun, happy, and love made a pillow just for you. Thanks for visiting me. I had a lot of fun. I'll see you later.
So we also just wanted to note that the reason we couldn't show a video of the children doing this experience is because it was against the policies that Give Kids the World for recording the children and their families. So again, if you'd like to hear more about the things that we were able to see with children interacting with our experience, please be sure to ask us, and we'd love to share those stories. And now Jason will talk about the maintenance.
So we designed our experience to be as reliable as possible, but we can't guarantee that nothing will ever go wrong. So just in case, we created documents of everything we created. We documented how all the show technology connects to each other and how it interacts with the PC. We created an overview of how the software works, and we created instructions for the hardware and software. If there ever is a problem with the PC, we created a backup PC just in case. We also created a disk image of the hard drives in case a hard drive ever fails. And we also gave them a copy of the final build along with all the drivers in case the experience needs to be installed on a brand new PC. So things that did go well for us, we came prepared with almost all the supplies we needed. We brought our own set of tools, and then anything else we needed, we were able to borrow from the engineering department down there. As we said, we documented everything that was installed, and we kept our client updated throughout our installation and met their expectations. We also had the perfect amount of time for our installation. If we had one extra day, we would have done additional play testing and made minor changes if needed, but any less time, and we would have been struggling to meet our deadline. Things we could have improved on, we could have prepped the PCs earlier on. Had we thought about it, it would have been nice to install the PCs during our second trip a few weeks ago and install the Hermes experience on it. That way, when we came down for a final installation, all we'd have to do is install the new build and make any minor changes if needed. Testing lights at the village would have been nice. When we did our fact-finding trip a few weeks ago, we had asked about what lights were installed, but didn't realize that they were different than what was originally installed 10 years ago. Most likely that's because whoever is involved with the tree now wasn't around for the original installation. We also could have created a pipeline earlier on so that we had a better idea of what scheduling we needed to do and a better idea of how to pass files between each other as we completed our experience. Lessons we learned. When outsourcing, give plenty of time. Our animator Rob was able to meet our deadline, but it would have been nice to have an extra week or two just in case the village had any important changes they needed to be made. Playtesting was also very important for us. We playtested twice at the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, at the ETC during the playtest day, and at the ETC throughout the semester with fellow students. When installing, expect the unexpected and be adaptable. We did have problems with our lights during our final install, but luckily we were ready with a plan B of purchasing new lights, so we were able to adapt, and it only set us back about an hour or two in the end. Visiting and documenting early on could have saved us time. We originally thought we were working on one of these Star Tower projects and didn't expect to be working on the pillow tree. Had we thought about it during our first visit, we would have looked at the pillow tree more while we were there. And staying in contact with our client was very helpful for us. We had weekly Skype calls with our contact, Abby, and it allowed us to update her constantly on what we were working on and to get feedback of any changes the village wanted to see.
So we know that it took a village to install this pillow tree, but from the bottom of our hearts, for those watching at Give Kids the World, we wanted to all say
Thank you.
We could not have done this without you. The installation, we found out, is absolutely wonderful. Everyone seems to really be enjoying it at the moment, and we're glad that Buttons has found a welcoming new home. So in conclusion, we're partnered with Give Kids the World to work and create a new experience for the existing pillow tree at the village by changing the characters, story, and interactions. We'd like to specially thank our point of contact, Abby, our animator, Rob, our sound designer, Dan, and our voice actor, Tim, and of course, all the faculty, staff, and the students at the ETC who have helped and supported us throughout this semester. We're now open for questions. The stories? Yeah, so there were a lot of stories that we could probably tell because we saw quite a few children do this experience. One of them that really struck me that made it very real was this little boy who had done this experience, and at the point where Buttons asks, think of something that'll make you happy, he did think of something, and then he pressed the button, and we weren't necessarily watching very closely or listening very closely, but afterwards, when he was kind of walking away with his family, his mother had asked him what he thought of to make him happy, and his response was, I thought of when I grew all my hair back. And that really touched us. And so I don't know if anyone wants to tell another story of your time.
There was a kid who was not able to move his hands, but when Button told him to press the button to think of something that makes him happy, he actually tried to do that, and his mom was crying, looking at like, oh, I don't see you doing it regularly when I tell you to do something, and it felt really nice that we're making something that is making the entire family happy. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
What's going to break first?
Probably the physical aspects of the tree, or the burlap that we put on there. Without a doubt, it's probably going to fall off at some point. It's probably going to be the first thing. Because it was spray glue. So that's what we had to put it on there. So that's probably going to be the first thing. Hardware-wise?
I think the presentation remote's going to go missing pretty soon. Who knows? But we did supply them with a backup in case it does happen.
Yes.
When you were showing the video, it looked like the gaps in between when the character speaks were hardwired. In other words, there was 15 seconds between one cue and another cue. Is that the way it was install, or can the operator sort of pause it if they need to?
So the operator can still skip and go through the next scene if they want to. Like they still have the option, but on the second day, our client suggested us that the experience should run by itself, and volunteer can do it if they want. So they still can go to the next one, and it would still be seamless.
All right, curious, thank you.
Could you, if the experience runs by itself, how do the pillows get into the tree stump?
So that's one thing the volunteers still need to do. So they can either do that ahead of time, or while the experience starts running, they can run back and put the pillows in before the kid goes out to find them.
And then are they a little more generic to boy and girl, so the volunteers can put them in ahead of time? I know you didn't have anything to do with that. I'm just curious how it works.
So usually they'll put them in as soon as the kids walk into the castle. They'll observe kind of what the kids are like. If it's a boy and he seems to be kind of active, if there's a pillowcase with like soccer balls on it, they might go put it in there. Or if it's a girl who's wearing yellow, and they might think that that's maybe her favorite color if she's wearing a lot of yellow, and so they'll go behind and put a yellow pillow back there. It really does vary from child to child, and it's all dependent on what the volunteer thinks they would enjoy.
Time for more?
Do the kids get to ask which language they want to hear buttons in?
Yeah, so there are switches on the side that you can turn on, and that's when the subtitles will start. And so it's not, the buttons doesn't speak in that language, it's just subtitles. And if they notice that the family is from, or speaks Spanish, then they can easily switch on the Spanish switch, and it'll immediately have the subtitles there.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.